Hello again, and welcome to session three of our technology class. So far in this journey, we have been able to do two big things. First, we learned about technology, and we talked about how it is not just about gadgets, but it's about the tools or ideas that actually solve problems. And in session two, I taught you about the different types of skills that exist: coding, design, AI, hardware, and the different sectors that these skills are useful, like education, health, agriculture. Now it's time for us to go deeper. And in this session, we'll be doing something Joseph did very well and something that every good tech thinker must also learn: understanding the real problem. The topic for today is thinking like Joseph, the skill of understanding. Let's be honest, and let me be honest with you. It's easy to notice that something is wrong, but it is much harder to understand why that thing is wrong, what is causing it, what is making it wrong, and what will happen if nothing changes. And the same way in tech and even in our personal life, the kind of deep thinking that makes the difference between a quick fix and a meaningful solution. So we are going to go through that process of thinking together today. So today we're going to learn to think like Joseph. We're going to practice something called interpretation, and it's also going to teach you tools that you can use when you are thinking about solutions. Let's begin with our anchor scripture for today. It's taken from Genesis chapter 41, verse 30. And it says, "But 7 years of famine will follow, then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten." And this particular scripture tells us about just how Joseph did not stop saying what would happen. He understood why, he understood the impact, and he understood what should be done. And that is called discernment, which is something that every deep thinker should actually have, and every future leader should be able to look at it. Not just that you're able to interpret a dream because you can interpret it, but you're able to provide a solution based on the interpretation of that dream. So here's what's special about the verse. Joseph didn't just say, "Oh, famine is coming." He explained why it mattered, and he saw the meaning behind the mystery. That's interpretation, that's wisdom for every one of us. Now, one very interesting thing that this session is about, which I've told us about, is we are going to look at the problems and not just stop at them. We are going to look at opportunities where we will understand these problems a lot deeper. And at the end of this session, I expect that you'll be able to understand what it means to interpret and think beyond the surface. You'll learn from Joseph's approach. We'll practice breaking a problem into causes and subcauses. We would also begin thinking like real problem solvers. So I believe that after this session, if anybody tells you about the problem, you question them deeply, and then you'll be able to give them a good answer. Now, going through the recap again, I already walked you through what we learned last week, and now we'll go straight into how do you interpret a problem. First, I would like to ask you, what is interpretation? To interpret means to go beyond the surface. It's asking, what does this really mean? Why is it happening? What's the cause? What's likely to happen? What will happen next? What's going to, like, you don't just stop at, oh, they'll tell you something and you accept it. You ask why. Anyone can say, oh, there's a problem, but not everyone can say, here it is, here's what is going wrong exactly, and here's what you can do about it. So let me give you different ways where people can think like surface thinking. And I'll just give you an example that I noted down. So, for example, if you say, oh, a student does not come to class, the surface answer will be, oh, that student is lazy. Or why is this person not here today? Oh, the person is lazy. Or the person did not like it. Or the person does not want to come. Those things are very easy to answer. But if you go into a deeper interpretation of why is this student not in class, you can say that maybe there's no money for transport. Or the person does not even understand the subject. That's why they are not coming. So this is your ability to actually ask why. And you're asking why multiple times, like asking why multiple times. So I'll walk you through a couple of things that I think is very important when you are interpreting a problem. One is asking deeper questions. You want to know, what does it really mean? Why is it happening? What's the cause? You want to go deep and just check what's the main source of this thing. The next thing is to find the real reason why something is not working. So the moment you go, you ask deep questions, you start finding out things that you were not expecting, that oh, this was even going to be the cause of a problem initially. I'm sure that the person that thought of, oh, let's create spoon, if you had brought that to our forefathers, if it was our forefathers responsible, they possibly would have said, oh, we enjoy eating our food with hands, with our hands alone. And then somebody would have thought, okay, why do you enjoy eating your food with just your hand? Oh, it is a cultural thing. So that can go into a lot more deeper level to now say, okay, this is, let's create something that will help people eat without having to mess their hands, maybe when they're in public or somewhere. So this is something that is very important when you're trying to interpret a problem. The next one is understanding how different parts are connected. When you want to interpret a problem and you go deep, you to help you understand how different parts are connected. So, for example, remember the story of the student that I told you that is not in class, and all of us just assume that that student is lazy. Imagine if maybe there is no transport fare, and now the transport fare is not because he's the one that will give himself transport fare, it's because his parents are not able to provide transport at that particular time. Now you have seen another part of the problem, that means that the parents are not financially buoyant to provide the transport fare. So now you're seeing other things that are connected to that problem. That is how I want you to think about a problem anytime you come across it. So think about all those problems that you have talked about in your focus groups with your facilitator during the practical classes. Think about those problems. Ask yourself, why this problem? Try and see in your mind, are there parts that might be connected to this problem? And this is how great problem solvers think. And when you think about all of the problems and how they are connected, it will help you know what exactly you are supposed to fix first. Now, for example, again, look at that child that is not in class. Now we know that, okay, it's because the parent does not have money. So there are many things. Oh, why does the parent does not have money? Maybe the parent does not have a job. So you keep going deeper. That way, it helps you tackle exactly what you want to tackle first. Because if on the surface you give the child the transport fare to come one day, will you give the child transport fare to come the next day? But if you go deeper and you give the parent a job, you have also provided for them so that they can provide for that child. You understand? So that is how is problem solvers think about problem. So like I said, Joseph didn't just say, oh, the dream is strange. He said, here is what it means. Here is what is coming. Here is what you need to do. And that's how to think like a solution maker, not a dreamer. So I believe we are not just all dreamers, we are solution makers as well. So we should not just stop at the point of dreaming, but we should continue to the point of interpreting these dreams and finding solutions to them. All right, let me take you through other real life scenarios that you will find interesting. So, for example, Shakpon is always dirty, and a surface answer can be, oh, people are careless, people are dirty, they throw things on the floor. Yeah. But a deeper interpretation might be that there are no dustbins or any cleaning workers. There are no dustbins, or maybe the cleaning workers haven't been paid in months, so they have actually not come to their jobs. So that's why Sharpman may be dirty. So you might not just say, well, people are careless, but then because you have asked more question, there's a deeper interpretation to that example. We can do one more. Sorry, we can do one more, which is saying, let's say you have an app idea and you say my app idea is not working. People don't like it. That's a very surface answer. But a way to actually go deep is to say maybe the design is confusing, or you're solving a problem that people actually don't care about. So that's how you start thinking like a tech person. See, during the course of this week session, I'll be using a lot of technology terminologies, but I'll be explaining them to you as we do that. All right. The more you ask why, the closer you get to the real solution. The more you ask why, the closer you get to the real solution. I would like all of us to echo that together. The more you ask why, the closer you get to the real solution. One more time. The more you ask why, the closer you get to the real solution. Yeah, before tech becomes useful, you must become useful. Your own thinking must be useful in itself. Before you can be able to use tech to do anything, you must be able to use your own thinking also by yourself. So yeah, let us go on. So we just to leverage a lot more on Joseph's kind of thinking. When Pharaoh had his dream about fat cows and thin cows, about healthy grains and dying grains. No one knew what to do with it. But Joseph stepped in. He didn't just describe the problem, which is the dream, he explained it. This dream is about seasons. That's the first thing he explained to them. He said it's about seasons. There are good years and there are bad years. You have time now, but if you don't act, the good years will be forgotten, which means they will be long gone. You must save food during the good years so that you survive the bad ones. Joseph didn't give fear, he gave understanding and strategy. Some of you these days, if it was you that had that dream, you would have thrown Pharaoh into a panic attack. And that would have been so interesting because it would have just been them looking for a solution. Oh, what's going to happen? And then you make them fear, you throw them into fear. But no, Joseph came from a point of understanding and he came from a point of strategy. This is what today's lesson is training you for: strategy and understanding. So I'm going to teach you about a framework that I call the why ladder framework. The why ladder framework. So this is a very simple tool that is used to find the cause of any problem. It is called the why ladder, or you can call it the 5 why method. So it's a very simple tool that you can use to solve any type of problem. And simply, I'm going to tell you what that tool is. It's for you to ask why 5 times. So for every problem, make sure you ask why 5 times. Now, let's say a problem. I have a problem. My tech school club is not growing. And when I ask why, which is the first why, they say our people are not joining. Okay, why again? Why are they not joining? I say, oh, they don't know what we are doing here. That's why they are not joining. Why don't they know what we are doing? Oh, we have never explained or even promoted it or even told them about it. Then I go again. Why have we not promoted it? They say, we thought people will just know now, like they'll just show up. Why did we think that people will just show up? Because we assume that tech is already exciting. Everybody wants to learn about tech. So when they just hear tech something, they're ready to jump on it. But that is not true anywhere. That is not true at all. People, if you don't talk about something, nobody will know what to do. If you don't promote it, nobody will know what to do. See how we have gone through 5 different layers of asking why, and we have come to the conclusion that because we assume that tech is already exciting enough, that's why we have not promoted it. And that's why people are not joining our tech club. And that's why our tech club is not growing. So now we know not to just assume that people are not joining. We know the root cause that we need to tell people about tech enough so that they will join. So in every situation and every problem that you're trying to solve in your practical classes, think of it from the point of view of why, and asking why 5 different times. Why is it happening? And then you take the answer and say why again. When you take that, to ask them why again. You do that consecutively till you get your answer. So for example, another example I could give you is, oh, nobody is using our school app. Why are they not using it? Oh, because they don't know what it does. Why don't they know what it's doing? Oh, because we've never explained it clearly to them. Why didn't we explain it? Because we thought everybody would figure it out. Okay. Why did we think everybody would figure it out? Because we assumed the app was self-explanatory. Why is it not self-explanatory? Because we built it ourselves. No, we real students in mind. So those are the kind of things that when you go why, now I know that okay, we built this app ourselves. We did not ask the people that are going to use it. So subconsciously, we expect that they will use the app. No, now we know the real problem is people don't understand the app because we did not put them in mind when we were building the app. Right now, we will not go back strategically to start engaging those students so that they will use the school app. So the real problem we have seen in this case is poor communication and wrong assumptions. So and because you ask why and why again, it will help you discover the truth. And the power of the why ladder is actually a very important one. So if somebody says, oh, I'm always tired, you ask them why. Why are you always tired? So today, throughout the rest of today, always ask why. If anybody asks a question or brings a problem, ask them why. Every why, it takes you deeper. Every why makes you wiser. And if we bring this back to Joseph, Joseph may not have written down a why ladder. Possibly, maybe did not even know that there was something called a why ladder. But you can tell from how he interpreted the dream that he used the same kind of thinking. He asked, what does this dream really mean? Which is the first why. What does Egypt need to know now? What does Egypt need to do now, rather? Then he went next to say, okay, what will happen if we don't prepare? Then he now went on to say, okay, what kind of system will keep people alive? So in case you don't know, Joseph actually just did not interpret the dream. He was the one responsible for the application of that dream, for executing the solution. He was the one responsible for it. So he did not just go ahead to say the solution. He was also right there, ready to solve the problem actively. He connected the dots. And guess what? Because of that, Egypt survived. I told you last week about how the number of people that were assumed to have been fed by Egypt, about 5 million people. That's a lot of people that could have died of famine. And Joseph became the most powerful man after Pharaoh. He didn't get there by guessing, he didn't get there by just saying, let me interpret their dream and just mind my business, be on my own. He got there by thinking deep and going on to do what he wants to do. So, as we close the session, I want you to take this with you. Big solutions don't always need big tools. Sometimes they just need deeper thinking. I'll take that again. Big solutions don't always need big tools. Sometimes they just need deeper thinking. Before you build an app or create a design or plan a big, gigantic idea, ask questions. Always know that this solution, if it's going to be big, it does not need big tools. It just needs deeper thinking. You asking why, figuring out what is underlying here, underlying rather, that I am not paying attention to. Here, start with why. Ask it again and again and again and again 5 times until you discover something fresh. Then you begin to design solutions that actually last. In your practical work today, you are going to be trying this for yourself. You are going to return to the problem your group has been working on since session one, or if you have been doing that individually, you're going to go back to where you wrote that problem, where you have that problem documented. You will use the ladder to find the root cause of that problem. And it might surprise you what you'll find. You won't even expect what you'll find. Because in this journey, just like Joseph, you are learning to become more than just a dreamer. You're learning to be an executor and also a solutionist as well at the same time. You're learning to become an interpreter, a builder, a solution maker, and every other thing after that, if there's any other thing bigger than that. So it's very important that you use your wide ladder to break down your problems and then the solutions to it. Um, Again, I'll just have a run through of the things I've talked about before I end this session. We talked about interpreting a problem. What does it really mean? Why is it happening? What is the cause? What's likely to happen next? We also then talked about some real life problems that we see that we look at on the surface, but then when you go deep, you realize okay, there's actually a lot more deeper level to that particular problem. And then I jumped into the why framework, which we dissected the why ladder, which we dissected and how you should have why 5 times. And I'm sure that all of us will practice that at the end. So, in conclusion, you can use the why ladder for anything in school, at home, in business, in friendship, and of course, while we are here in tech. It builds clarity, and clarity leads to a better and a better action. So use your wife ladder in all of the problems that you're trying to talk about now, and then you document that. And definitely, I will see you in the next session. So keep thinking deeply. Your next why could actually unlock something powerful. Know that your next why could actually unlock something that is very, very powerful. My name is Deborah Dada, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you so much. Bye.